Hi, this is Burr Stewart, and welcome to part 79 of my continuing series of model railroad operations videos. Today we're going to be talking about the Pacific Zip, which is the first intermodal train that the Burlington Northern ran right after the Burlington Northern merger in 1973. And in addition to running that train, we'll catch a few miscellaneous things that occur along the way. So let's get right down to it. The Pacific Zip was an experiment in early intermodal hotshots, and it ran from Chicago to Seattle really fast, faster than passenger trains at the time. Here we're leaving the Skykomish staging yard and heading towards Mount Index and down towards Seattle on my HO scale Burlington Northern model railroad set in 1973, which is right at the end of the period when the Pacific Zip was being tried out. And of course, as you know, the rest is history. We have plenty of intermodal hotshot trains now, but this was their first attempt. So at the very beginning, when they started this out, they only ran a few cars, whatever they could sell. And that's what you see here. Just a handful of cars coming down the mountain, having crossed the Cascades with a single express boxcar at the end for very high priority merchandise. And of course a caboose, because this was 1973. There's Mount Index. It was painted by my son many years ago on the backdrop. And there was a loop in the main line there called the Index Loop. And we have most of a loop here in this train layout, so it works just great. Now, meanwhile, you can see that the Sky Local, which is a local train that went from Seattle up to Skykomish and back, has immediately taken over the tracks in Skykomish once the Pacific Zip left. And that's an overview of both the Skykomish yard there, as well as we see the Zip coming out of a little underpass and heading down the main line towards Seattle. A few minutes later, the train is crossing the big steel trestle, approaching a tunnel, and by a huge rock cut. That center locomotive is an Alco C-636, but the front and rear locos really don't belong here because they're in the 7000 series, which was not on the Burlington Northern in 1973. Sorry about that. Just another compromise we have to make sometimes. These are typical piggyback loads from the era, and I understand they often ran a big sky blue GN caboose on the tail end of this train. Now, meanwhile, the Zip was passing by. Down in the Everett yard, some local switching was taking place. And so this Alco C-415, number 4010, was switching cars in and out of the Everett Delta yard. It's worth seeing this just to hear the Alco sounds. And if you want to see other videos of it, you can look at the rest of my channel. If you want to see more footage of the Pacific Zip in action here, I recommend to you part 51 and part 33 of this series of model railroad operations videos, and I'll put the link to both of those in the description below, so I hope you enjoy. Rail fanning, a switching maneuver, is a little frustrating when you can't see what's going on the other side, but this Alco is so beautiful, I thought we should just enjoy it for a minute. Very nice. Not to be outdone by its high priority brother, this is a eastbound hotshot manifest freight which came roaring up to Skykomish a few minutes after the Zip arrived in Seattle. You can see it has some automobiles that were brought in probably from Japan at the time, SD-45s on the head end, and this train definitely means business as it pulls into the Skykomish yard. We can take a minute to admire the consist of this train, and there on the main line you see the cars of the Sky Local that I mentioned earlier. Above is the Milwaukee Road Limestone Junction branch, but we won't be running that today. These are the new scale trains, SD-45s. They're really beautiful locomotives as they pull into one of the yard tracks in Skykomish. This is as far east as we go on this model railroad, but you can just imagine this charging all the way across the country towards Chicago. The box cars, the cement hoppers, the milled grain, and the air slide hopper, other miscellaneous intermodal car, and of course empty wood chip cars going back to sawmills to bring more feedstock into the Scott Paper Mill in Everett. So with that, we come to the end of another quick video here on the Burlington Northern Model Railroad, and this is Burr Stewart wishing you much fun with trains.